I was hibernating.
You were smooching with your wife.
Remember to smile. Look at the camera once in a while.
Where is it?
Welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living, this live stream service. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning us in. If you're sitting at home or wherever you are, your mobile device. And we're thankful, too, and welcome the new visitors, the first-time viewers. Welcome to you. We miss your physical presence, but I hope you know that we feel you, we feel the connection, and we hope you do too. This is our family, our community, and it's a challenging time to not have you in our faces and share hugs and all that. But just know that you are loved. I want to introduce the band really quick. Behind me, there's Corinne on flute, and Drew, our master stage manager and bass player, Ricardo on drums, Shemaine on vocals, and Leslie Monroe on keys. And I'm Rick Charette. So grateful to be here. We invite you to sing along with our closing song. I hope you sing really loud. You know, the advantage of being at home, you can pick up an instrument and play along with us if you'd like, and it won't bother us at all. So grab a flute or a drum and sing along with us. Sacred Love. 2, 3, 4. Sacred love, sacred love is all that I am. You are sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a
morning. I know you're just clapping like crazy at home for that wonderful song. My name is Linda Brewer, and we are a spiritual community where all are welcome. Right now, you're welcome to visit with us online. We wish you were here. We miss you terribly, as Rick said. And for those of you who know me, I normally wear a button that says I give unconditional hugs. Well, I'm not able to do that right now. So this button says, have you hugged your inner child today? So, and remember, back in February 9th, I did a talk where I taught you all how to do self-hugs. So this is the perfect time to be practicing that. All right, so our practitioner holding high watch from home this morning is Katie Hernandez, because there is no distance in God. Throughout the service, she will be in prayer, knowing that the best and highest is unfolding as we share this sacred time together. And Selena Baugh is our platform practitioner this morning, and she will be leading us in prayer and sharing a sacred reading with us. Our center is a spiritual community that teaches a philosophy for daily living based on spiritual principles and practices that are universal among religions. We honor every pathway by which people seek to know and connect with the divine, and we work on our individual consciousness so that we can help make the world a better place. And this is a great time for us to be doing that. Please join me from wherever you are in saying out loud with feeling our purpose statement. We are an open, welcoming community, celebrating our divinity, loving our humanity, and nurturing our journeys of spiritual discovery. Thank you. And as I did last week, I want to encourage all of us to keep that purpose statement in mind as we move through this time, often at home, alone, asking ourselves, what can we be doing right now to celebrate our divinity? How can we demonstrate our own and loving the humanity of others? And what sacred journey are we willing to take at this time? So during this unusual time in our lives as a spiritual community and as a world, it is essential to our leadership that you make it easy for us to keep you informed about what's going on here, given that the world is changing day by day. Our website, where you can find all that information, we say it out loud each week, www.spirituallyfree.org. All righty, so if you go to our website, you can send us an email to let us know anything that you want or need, any way that we can support you. You can put in a prayer request. You can find the link to our official Facebook page where our live streaming happens. And if you go to the Sunday section, you can also find the link to our YouTube video section. And in there, if you're bored, we have years and years of former talks that you can watch. So there's lots for you to do. Our theme this month is honoring the divine feminine, and for better or worse, I will be your speaker this morning. So because of the precautions we are being asked to take, all of our in-person events have been postponed until we can safely gather together without putting people at risk. However, Home Office has created 2 webinars that you can join from home. Tomorrow night at 7 is a diversity inclusion webinar. The topic is health and racial equity in a time such as this. And Tuesday night at 7, there's one called How CSL Senior Citizens Survive and Thrive. You can find all the information on how to join those webinars in the education section on the website. Another thing you'll find on our website in the calendar section is the link to the Great Cozy Couch concerts. Those are, Home Office has put those together. They're happening every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Tonight's concert is with Karen Drucker, whose music we use regularly here, including we sing her song, I Am So Blessed, every week. And this week's monthly congregational song that we'll be singing soon, Gifts of the Goddess, is also Karen's. So here's just a brief clip where you can hear her singing her song, All Is Well, because in truth it is. So you can join her tonight at 7. All is Okay, so all is well. I am safe. I can rest. All is well. It's a wonderful affirmation for us to be doing. And please tune in at 7 tonight. The link is on our website to watch the concert with Karen. It is especially important right now to remember that our community is a ministry that was founded on and is grounded in prayer. Despite the need to keep our distance, our practitioners are still working for you, using the art and science of affirmative prayer to help you cope with any of the challenges you may be facing right now. On the home page of the website, you can email us an email request, a prayer request, and all of the practitioners will pray for you during the week. We did discover this week that the prayer link was not working, so if you tried to send a request last week, my apologies, but it has been fixed. Thank you, Shemaine, for doing that. And so please take advantage of it. When we reach the place in the service after my talk, when you would normally be able to come forward with a practitioner, we're going to put the slide up on the screen that shows you how to email a request. And I encourage you to do that just right then if you have a need that we can be praying for. If you feel a need to talk with a practitioner, please mention that in the prayer requests that you see, that you send in, and we will connect you with a practitioner, and we'll have one of them give you a call and pray with you on the phone. So please take advantage of the work that our amazing practitioners do. And so right now, I want to invite you to allow Selena's wisdom reading and the centering song to prepare you to connect to that sacred space within, and then Selena will speak her word in prayer.
Good morning. Our reading this morning is from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. The title is The Edge of Center. All tempest has, like a navel, a hole in the middle, through which a gull can fly in silence. From across the centuries, this nameless voice tells us that at the heart of all struggle, there is a peaceful, enduring center, if we can only reach it. All the wisdom traditions affirm this. Still, a deeper paradox of life is carried here. For the gull flies through the peaceful center. It does not live there. The work, it seems, for us is to draw sustenance from the central, eternal space without denying the experience of the storm. Repeatedly, we are thrown into the storm and into the center. When in the storm, we are exasperated by our humanness. When in the center, we are relieved by our spiritual place in the oneness of things. So to find the center and spread our battered wings is to feel the God within. Our constant struggle is in living both sides of this paradox. For we cannot get to the center without going through the storm that surrounds it. Yet the storm of human experience can only be endured by knowing what the gull knows. The storm can only be survived from the center. And how we pass each other from storm to center and back, there you'll find the trials and gifts of love.
Open quiet place within my mind, and I will open to my God, open to my God. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place, a quiet place within my soul, and I will open to my God, open to my God, and I will open to my God, open to my God.
So it's from this place of openness that I feel and know that one presence, that one power that moves in and through all of life. Every bit of it. And just as I know this truth of the divine, I know that that same power and presence moves in and through myself and all of creation. Every person, every flower, every raindrop. Always has, always will, expressing as divine right action, love, joy, and peace. And when I want to be disturbed by these events that surround us today, when I'm in that place of knowing, I can look past all of that to the truth. The truth that each of us are divine beings, that nothing can move against us, for we are whole and complete in this moment and always. I open to this knowing, I embrace it, and I live it. I'm grateful for this time together this morning. I'm grateful for this teaching. I'm grateful for each person that made this service possible and all of you at home watching. For this is our community. This is the love I know. This word spoken, therefore it's done, as together we say, and so it is.
It's time to sing it together again. Grab your tambourine. Get up and dance if you want. This circle of love, this circle of peace, in this circle of love, in this circle of peace. I feel our unity, love's Thank you. I felt you singing along. I'm so pleased to introduce our special music at this time. I'll call Dallas Brown up to the stage. Dallas Brown, flute medicine, incredible musician. I've known Dallas through the years. He is so generous with his gift. I'm thinking about several times up at the Huntsman Cancer Institute, where Linda Brewer, who was the lead chaplain up there, organized the Blessing of Hands ceremony, where all the caregivers in the city were gathered together, and their hands would be blessed for the service they do. And Dallas and I had a blast sharing the background music during that ceremony. Just one of the ways he gives his gift. He's got about 140 flutes in his house. As I've said before, I think he doesn't have a mortgage because he's got flutes. So grateful to have Dallas here with us. Dallas Brown, flute medicine.
Is. Sorry about that. Oh, Dallas, thank you. And thank you, Rick. I was transported back to that blessed ceremony and all the amazing staff at Huntsman who are working themselves to a frenzy right now. I'm so grateful for all of our healthcare workers, and please keep them all in your prayers. So our topic that was scheduled this morning was Spirit is Every Gender. I'm grateful that Shemaine spoke eloquently, though briefly, to that last week, because I just could not get up here and speak as if everything in the world is what it was when the topics for this year were planned many months ago. I've chosen instead to call today's talk The Silver Linings, Finding the Blessings in Our New Normal. One of my favorite books in all the world is a book called Sabbath by Wayne Muller. I have gifted it more than a dozen times, and I return to it often when my life feels insane or when I feel overwhelmed with stress. The subtitle of the book is Finding Rest, Renewal, and Delight in Our Busy Lives. And as I searched for inspiration for this talk, I wondered if it would speak to those of us whose busy lives have suddenly been upended as we are forced into isolation and a whole new way of living. For me, it did. And I hope that as I share lessons from it, that its wisdom will speak to you as well. I want to acknowledge right up front that many of the words I'm going to speak are Wayne Muller's words. They come right out of the book, sometimes direct quotes, and sometimes they're woven together with my own words. So I want to acknowledge that. I'm not going to stop and put quotes around everything that are actually his words. If you find what I share helpful, I encourage you to get the book Sabbath. I think it might help in navigating this new life experience that we are having, as many of us are suddenly working, shopping, watching our spiritual services from home, and staying 6 feet away from other human beings, which to me is the hardest part. The basic premise of the book Sabbath is that we have been told to consciously create time in our lives where we stop, rest, and connect with our center, our Creator, the source of who we are. In the Old Testament, it was not a suggestion, it was a commandment. Not because God needs us to worship, but because we need that connection. We need to acknowledge the truth of who we are. We need to know that we are co-creators of our lives, and we need to nurture our relationship with our source. But as we have consciously or unconsciously moved away from allowing ourselves to be commanded by something else, many of us no longer take that time. I'm old enough to remember creation. Really what I was going to say is I'm old enough to remember when all the stores were closed on Sundays, when there actually was a day, a week, when the frantic pace of our busy lives subsided for a bit, and people gathered to worship together or just to spend time with their families and to rest and rejoice in having time together. It was a bit like what's happening now, those old Sundays. Even farther back, when the busyness of life centered around survival needs, when almost every waking moment was dedicated to getting the food, water, clothing, and shelter needed to survive, people still managed to take time to experience gratitude when their basic needs were being met, to give thanks when they found an animal to kill that could feed their family, or later on when they were able to cook a meal from the crops they had grown. And they did those things in relationship with their family or small tribe, not at their desk in front of a computer or in front of a TV or staying connected by a cell phone. In the early 1940s, Abraham Maslow developed a motivational theory in psychology that depicted a 5-tier model of human needs, often illustrated as levels within a pyramid. Instead of focusing on what was wrong with people, as earlier psychologists have, Maslow was interested in what goes right, in human potential, and how we fulfill that potential. As the years went by, he expanded his theory until the 5-tier model became the 8-tier model you see on your screen. Starting at the bottom, there were physiological needs like food, water, warmth, and rest. Just above that were safety needs that included physical safety, security, order, and stability. The third level consisted of belongingness and love needs, our need to be in relationship with others, to belong to a group or tribe. The fourth level is esteem needs, the need to be recognized by others, to have status and self-esteem, a sense of dignity, achievement, independence. The fifth level is our cognitive needs, the need for knowledge and understanding, for meaning and predictability. Next comes our aesthetic needs, the need to find and appreciate beauty and balance. The seventh tier, which was initially the name of the top level, is called self-actualization, which is about reaching our full potential, including expressing ourselves creatively. The eighth and final level is about transcendence, the need we have to be motivated by values that transcend our personal self, to explore the mystical, the spiritual, and to be in service to others. The bottom four levels are called deficiency needs because the less those needs are met, the more we are motivated to find a way to get them met. The top four levels are called being or growth needs, and those levels function quite differently. As our growth needs begin to be met, the motivation to meet them increases rather than decreases, as happens with deficiency needs. So when we have enough food and all that, we move on. When we experience some of the higher level needs, we want more of it. So while what I'm about to say is not true for millions on the planet and even in our country and state, I'm guessing that the vast majority of you who are watching are doing so from a safe place with adequate food and water. Most of you are part of this spiritual community and so have some place of belonging, and most of you have other tribes as well. I would guess most of you also have places, whether in our spiritual community or elsewhere, where you are recognized by others and have a sense of accomplishment, which means that the majority of us are being motivated not by what we're missing, but by what we want to experience more of, our growth needs. I found myself wondering this week if our growth needs are what drive us all to be so busy so much of the time, to live our lives missing the sense of rest, joy, and peace that comes from having a true Sabbath experience, from meeting our transcendence needs, which I have come to believe offer satisfaction when they are met instead of making us more hungry as the other growth needs do. In the first pages of Sabbath, Muller describes so perfectly the world in which the majority of us had been living. I want to share what he says. In the relentless busyness of modern life, thank you, we have lost the rhythm between work, or growth need fulfillment, and rest. All life requires a rhythm of rest. There is a rhythm in our waking activity and the body's need for sleep, a rhythm in the way day dissolves into night and night into morning, a rhythm as the active growth of spring and summer is quieted by the necessary dormancy of fall and winter. There is a tidal rhythm, a deep eternal conversation between the land and the great sea. In our bodies, the heart perceptively rests after each life-giving beat. The lungs rest between the exhale and the inhale. We have lost this essential rhythm. Our culture invariably supposes that action and accomplishment are better than rest, that doing something, anything, is better than doing nothing. Because of our desire to succeed, to meet those ever-growing expectations, we do not rest. And because we do not rest, we lose our way. Poisoned by this hypnotic belief that good things come only through unceasing determination and tireless effort, we can never truly rest. And for want of rest, our lives are in danger. In the current crisis, literally in danger. In our drive to meet our growth needs, we are seduced by promises of more. Even when we dedicate our lives to the service of others, the corrosive pressure of frantic overactivity can nonetheless cause suffering in ourselves and others. A successful life has become a violent enterprise. The whole experience of being alive begins to melt into one enormous obligation. Our standard greeting is, "I'm so busy." Our lack of rest and reflection colors the way we build and sustain community. It dictates the way we respond to suffering, and it shapes the ways in which we seek peace and healing in the world. And into this world that Muller describes so eloquently comes COVID-19, accelerating the busyness of the lives of our healthcare workers, our truck drivers, our grocery store employees, our delivery personnel, our first responders, and so many other essential workers. At the same time, it has forced millions of us to stay home, alone, or cloistered with our families for far more hours than we are accustomed to being with each other, or for far more hours than we are accustomed to being alone. Almost overnight, our world has been upended. How are we going to respond? The first response took many to our lowest levels, our survival needs. Grocery store shelves were emptied as people bought far more than they needed out of fear that they would not have their most basic physiological needs met. That fear was exacerbated here in Utah by the earthquake that briefly rocked our world. But almost immediately, while fear of unmet basic needs motivated many, many others were motivated by their love and caring for people, reaching out personally to those they knew to be alone, or in the virus's most vulnerable groups, or offering help through social media to friends and strangers alike. Overnight, uplifting videos were posted so that those who were isolated might find solace in knowing that love is winning. I've read stories of how the skies in formerly polluted areas are beginning to be clear as cars no longer clog the roads and poison the air we breathe. Rivers that were dying with pollution are beginning to run clear. The song of birds that have been drowned out by the hustle and bustle of our busy lives are being heard by many for the first time in oh so long. In the midst of the tragedy that is this terrible pandemic, the silver linings are shining through. When we stop and reflect, we know that sooner or later, this too shall pass. A cure will be found, a vaccine will be created, COVID-19 will be a thing of the past. The question I would ask us all to consider is, what will we do then? Will we go right back to the busyness of the lives we were living before we were forced to stop? Or will we use this time to evaluate what was and wasn't meaningful? Might we want to open ourselves to the blessing of finding a Sabbath way of living that nourishes our bodies, our souls, and our relationships in far better ways than the craziness that we were living before? So what might honoring the Sabbath look like for each of us? First of all, the Sabbath of which I speak has really very little to do with a dictated particular day of the week, unless your spiritual community strongly honors Sabbath rituals. We usually think that Sabbath means the day of the week that our spiritual community gathers. For us, that happens on Sunday. For others, it's Friday or Saturday. The Jewish faith is one which has powerful Sabbath rituals from which we can learn much. The Jewish Sabbath starts at sundown on Friday and goes through sundown on Saturday. It does not start when the work is all done. It starts at sundown. And whatever work is undone will wait until Sabbath ends. This is the example that Jesus demonstrated for us when he went off alone into the wilderness or slept in the boat on the turbulent waters. He did not stop when everyone had been healed, when everything had been done. He stopped when it was time to rest. He stopped to nourish his soul so that he might return to his healing work refreshed. When I suggest you establish your own Sabbath, I'm speaking of a time to rest, to remember who you are, a regular time to find your way back to your center. Remember the Sabbath is the only commandment that begins with remember, instead of telling us what not to do. We are to remember because everything we need, our oneness with the divine mind and heart, is already present within us. There is nothing we need to do to achieve that. We are told to remember because the assumption is that we will forget, that we will become so busy meeting our needs that we will forget the importance of resting and connecting to the source of the only real growth, the only real peace we can ever know. The Sabbath practice that I am suggesting to you is that you choose a time, ideally a regular day each week, but you can begin with just a morning or an afternoon or evening that you set aside for yourself every week and that you protect with every fiber of your being. It is a time when you unplug from your phone, your computer, your TV, a time when you allow yourself to be still and know that I am God that lives within you. A time you connect with the source of your being and get still enough to hear that quiet voice that is always waiting to speak to you, to nourish you, to guide and support you. It is a time you block out on your calendar, allowing nothing to interfere with that time, honoring that commitment to yourself as much as you would a commitment to those you love most. A Sabbath day might begin with the morning spent alone in your personal spiritual practice or in gathering with your spiritual community. If your Sabbath begins with your community, it will be important that another part of your day is for your time alone with Spirit. Personally, I've found that it was more meaningful for my Sabbath to not be the day that our community gathers together, but that is up to you. Sabbath afternoon might be spent napping, making love, taking a walk in nature, listening to your favorite music, journaling, reading, connecting with your loved ones through phone calls, writing letters, or visiting together. Sabbath evening might include a closing ritual, a special prayer, lighting a candle, a guided meditation, a practice of gratitude. The point is not to fill your day, but for it to feel relaxed and spacious and different than what you always do. Depending on my work schedule, I've had times when Saturday was my Sabbath, other times when it was Monday. The people on the front row of my life knew that I would not be answering emails or texts or phone calls that day, that I would not be going anywhere with them. It was a time that I trusted that the world could survive without my input for a day. And I allowed myself to truly rest. In writing this talk, I realized that when I retired, I bought into some illusion that since I was not employed, every day would be my Sabbath. Instead, I've allowed myself to become busy each day with only Sabbath moments at the beginning of my day instead of a Sabbath day. That is going to change, and that is my silver lining with what is happening in the world, is that I realize that. So Muller identifies 6 essential elements for the Sabbath day. They are rest, rhythm, time, happiness, wisdom, and consecration. Rest involves sleeping in or napping midday, stepping back from the seduction of our many technologies, and living one day each week at an unhurried, unscheduled pace, unplugged and focused on what nourishes our souls and brings us peace. It may be very difficult at first. I'm pretty sure it will be. But as we practice it weekly, it becomes the highlight of our week. Rhythm is recognizing that as part of creation, we are part of the rhythm of the world. Light and dark, expansion and contraction, growth and dormancy, life, death, and regeneration. we have forgotten to connect to our own true rhythm. As we allow ourselves to slow down and get quiet, Sabbath time helps us find and restore a natural rhythm to our lives. Time is also essential for having the Sabbath experience. What good are all our possessions and our successes if we lack serenity and stillness within? It is key to the Sabbath experience that we commit ourselves to dedicate the time every week to restoring ourselves to wholeness. Life should not just make us tired. It should bring us happiness. We trade real happiness for what we are seduced to desire because we're so often told that without X, whatever X may be, that we're not enough. We work to get more stuff, then spend our time off taking care of our stuff that does not fulfill the longing we have within to know the truth of who we are. Sabbath time helps us recognize the lie that we are not enough and helps us remember that indeed we are the beloved, the light of the world. Sabbath allows us time to develop wisdom about our motivations for what we do and find our meaning within instead of from the busyness and the opinions of the world. Henry Nouwen, who I've quoted before, tells us that the 3 temptations that Jesus faced in the desert were to be useful, to be important, and to be powerful. Any of those sound familiar? As we regularly spend time in the stillness, our wise internal voice can be heard and guides us to choose out of those temptations into a more fulfilled life. The final element Muller mentions of Sabbath is consecration, which means to make something sacred. Those things we believe to be sacred, we honor, protect, and pay attention to. It is essential that we protect our Sabbath from all the ways the world will offer to distract us from it, to belittle it, to make it less important than the needs or wants of others. When our Sabbath time is made sacred, we will protect it and honor that time as holy. I would add one more element to Muller's prescription for our personal Sabbath, and that is gratitude. Using that quiet time, we can really recognize what matters most in our lives, what makes our hearts sing, and give thanks for it. For me, my daily gratitude journal rarely mentions big things that happen, but it is filled with connections with other people that touched my heart. Many of you who are listening often show up in my gratitude journal. So in this most unusual time in our world, where have you found your silver linings? As we continue with our practice of social distancing, which of the needs Maslow identified will be your focus? Might you be willing to use part of your time to experiment with your own weekly Sabbath day and see how it might transform your life, not just during this time, but even more so when life changes again? Will you use this time to create a transformation that you can continue when the rest of the world speeds up again? I look forward to hearing what you decide. And so as we prepare to be in prayer together, I'm going to read a prayer by Hafiz that speaks to the silver lining of the loneliness that may come with social distancing and isolation. I invite you to bring your feeling responses to his words into our prayer. And if you feel the need for the support of our practitioners, please send a prayer request from our website, and all the practitioners will be praying for you this week. Hafiz says, don't surrender your loneliness so quickly. Let it cut more deep. Let it ferment and season you as few human or even divine ingredients can. Something missing in my heart tonight has made my eyes so soft, my voice so tender, my need of God absolutely clear. So let's pray together. So as we have this clarity of our need for the sacred connection, we recognize the presence of the Creator everywhere we look. In the blue sky or the clouds or the rain, in the mountains and the valleys, in our waters, our lakes, our streams, our oceans, in the things that grow out of the ground and the animals who tread on it, and in every other face we see, we know that this is the expression of the divine, bringing itself into expression as me, as you, as everything that is, and knowing that it is all God. Right now we know that whatever it is that we may feel troubled about, all the things that are going on in this world today, we know right now healing for this virus. We know wisdom for those scientists who are working so quickly to find a cure. We know that our healthcare workers are protected, that the supplies they need are being made and brought to them so that they might continue the amazing lives of service that they already live. And we know for each person that they respect the wisdom that has been shared with us, and that we do those things that we are called to do to help keep each other and ourselves safe. And we know that this too shall pass. And as we know that, may we also know that there will be some incredible blessings that come to us in this time. And we keep our eyes open for those blessings now. We ask ourselves, what can we do during this time to have a more meaningful life? And we commit ourselves to caring for ourselves so that we might care for others. And in gratitude that there is a law that takes these words and brings them into effect, I release them now, knowing that they are already done, as together we say, and so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I give. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so
So this is our time for conscious giving. That means, like everything else we do here, it's a choice. We choose to give, and we choose to give from an attitude of abundance, knowing that the prosperity of the universe is already ours. So during this time, I just want to remind you to give to your center. There's a link on the website for that purpose. Text to give is my favorite and the one that I use. But since we're not here, just hold that giving in your mind as we recite our giving affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Filled with gratitude, I let this be, and so it is. Thank you.
All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. A light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. I've been set free, I'm released. I've been set free, I'm released. The burden of my past has gone away at last. I've been set free, I'm released. More than I need comes to me. More than I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. More than I need comes to me. More than I need comes to me.
Let's have Dallas Brown come up and do some special music. Let me say I'm so grateful for this center. I'm grateful for the support of our members and continuing to give. This is wonderful technology, and I'm grateful that we have this way of connecting with you, but sure do miss you. Thank you for your support. Thanks for connecting, and remember what Linda said. Reach out. There's many ways to connect with us. If there's something you need or desire, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, Dallas. I'm ready. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being there. We feel you being there. Invite you to sing along with our closing song. Remember, next week we'll be here live, new music. And why don't you this time share that link, that live link with a friend? Or if it's going to be recorded, so you could share it that way too. Grab the link and send it via messenger or email or text. Just share. Together we can change the world.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world. Lay the puzzle pieces out. Find out what it's all about. Together we can change the world. I could start this by myself, but I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sailing past where it's been charted. Roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. With our hands and with our hearts, we can dare to make a start. Together we can change the world. What if we spoke with one voice, knowing that we have a choice? Together we can change the world. I could start this by myself, but I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sailing past where it's been started. Roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. Change your mind and change your life. Set aside the fear and strife. Together we can change the world. When we open up our eyes, then we start to realize. Together we can change the world. I could start this by myself, but I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sailing past where it's been charted. Roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world.
Thanks, you guys. Love you all. Thank you.